Okay, so this is just going to be a quick little video on what is a crow's foot, why the heck do I need it, and why are people telling me I need it. So let's look at this situation. Right here we have a fitting that we need to get to, and it's in a pretty tight area. Now sure, we could get in there with a socket, but when this line's on here and this banjo bolt is on here, it's still a little tight to get into, and we got to hold this back fitting because it'll spin out of the housing and the banjo bolt goes into it. So you need to be able to hold that while you turn the banjo bolt. Now I know what you're thinking. What the heck is a banjo bolt? A banjo bolt typically holds fuel or hydraulic lines on with the bulkhead fitting like you see here. And this is the banjo bolt. Now you'll see that hole in there. There's also a hole down through the center. So what it allows is it clamps on in through the center of this fitting, which is essentially, for terms of explaining, hollow inside. If you can see there, there's an inner area that's cut out from the outsides, and it's hooked up to that hole you seen down in the center. So that allows fluid to flow from inside this fitting into the center of there, through that hole, into the ring, the inner ring of this, down into that hole to wherever you're going. In this case, it's our fuel pump on this little power track dozer. Interesting little, made in the Republic of China 2-cylinder diesel. Kind of cool rig. We'll talk about it later maybe if you like. Alright, so I want to get my fitting down here tight. I know it's a little dark down in here to see what exactly is going on. I've got a crescent wrench and I just can't quite get in there. You know, I could do one of these numbers and try to kind of like get it best I can, but I'm running the chance of goofing up these corners of this fitting, and that's just never good. I hate doing that. You know, I might as well stick a pair of vice grips on there. Okay, the other option is that I have a socket. What I can do is I can reach in here with my socket and a nice extension. I can get in there, and this works great because I can tighten this right up. But next, and in disassembling, I got to get my fitting with the banjo on. So here you are with the fitting and banjo bolt ready to install. And this just goes right like this into this little booger. Now, once I've got it seated, one thing to note is that on a fitting like this, when you tighten it, there is of course a torque value. Generally you want to replace those copper crush washers, that right there. I'm just reusing these because I don't have spares right now. But when you tighten it, this line's going to want to turn. Sometimes that's not so good because it kinks on it. So I always like to try to hold it farther away from the direction it's going to turn so that when you tighten it, it's about in the location that you want. So now I can't quite get in there with my socket. I could use a swivel, but what I have is this guy here. Kind of looks like the end of my end wrench, 19mm end wrench, but it's got a 3/8 socket drive stuck in it. So what I can do is I can take my socket off, I can stick this guy on there, and you can see in a lot of manuals they will call for a crow's foot, especially if you get in diesel, working with fuel lines and injector lines and such. And so now you can see I can reach right in there, and I can hold that, and then I can get in here now with my wrench, because now that fitting's in far out enough, and I can tighten her up while holding the wrench. And get her tight, not allowing that back fitting to turn. Or I can get in there, since there's not a direct way to get in there because of this ram, I can get in here with this guy and I can tighten her up. Looks good. Okay, so here's another instance where this comes in handy. Again, I can't quite get into this area for the purpose of this video with a wrench, and I need to be able to get squarely on this. So what this allows me to do is it allows me to get in here and loosen this injector line. And because it's on the ratchet, if I can turn it any direction I want and make it fit in a limited area if need be. And again, to tighten her up, easy as peasy. I'm able to fit in other tight locations. Alright, in the upper part of your screen, we see this injector hold down nut here. Now, I can't get to it with a socket very easily because it's too tight between the valve cover and the top of the frame, which you can't see right now, which is behind the camera. And I can't get in here with a wrench and get enough room with an intake. What I can do is I can take a crow's foot on my ratchet. And since this goes in any direction, what I can do is I can get in there just like this, and I can break that free and I can get that off. And then I can just realign it. There you go. So for tight places, this is just a fantastic tool to have. It's why you should have one, why you need one, and why people tell you to have one. And now you know what a crow's foot is. Every time you hear crow's foot, what the heck is a crow's foot? Well, that's what it is.
Hey folks, thanks for watching my video. Hopefully I was able to answer any questions on what a crow's foot was, or maybe a banjo bolt. If there's any other tools named after animals that or animal parts that you are interested in, that you were wondering what the heck they were, or there's other things you might suggest on a video, or you have suggestions about this video, please let me know in the comments. Now, I don't claim to be any kind of professional necessarily, but I do hope I can help some people that are just come along and maybe their mechanical abilities, or just had a question about a particular tool or something else I do a video on. Now, if you enjoyed this video and maybe some of my others, go ahead and click subscribe so you can see when the next one comes out. And be sure to let me know in the comments other suggestions for videos or suggestions and comments on this video. Thanks and have fun.